Welcome back to Saga of Three Kings. This is session number 38, entitled Prince of Thunder. Last session, the group was met on a bridge on their way out of Bluegate, heading towards Barad, by a conflict on the bridge between three parties: a pair of maidens with a young red-headed boy, or teen, young man, um, and a group of dragon cultists with strange skirmisher unit automatons, and a another group. They fought. Things happened, and eventually they ended up with the red-headed young adult, who happened to be Roderick Galagos, the very young lad they were seeking in the first place, and also the woman and the two knights who had been chasing them ever since the young lad was absconded with by the maidens at Bellum, or just north of Bellum, really. That said, the group has decided that their goal is to make their way to the city of Bonrock in the Icefang Mountains, a dwarvish city that they hear a lot of stuff is created from. Not much more information beyond that. And off screen, we've already gone ahead and rolled the random encounters. So the first day of travel off road is pretty uneventful. Your attempts to lure in the maidens is pretty much, it feels like it's not really working. And what you notice is that the more perceptive of you don't seem to be able to track them, or determine if they're even tracking you. However, every so often there is a pop for the most perceptive of you, but you don't think that they're trying to engage you. You're pretty sure that since you've decided on the pathway that you're making, it looked like they were kind of ahead of you, realized that you were effectively behind them but offside, and are kind of just moseying about. So your interactions with them have been incidental, but it seems like they're not trying to let you gain on them, and it does seem like they are leading you on your way to Bonrock. The first day is pretty uneventful. You make your travel and find a place to camp. And as I said, we've already rolled the random encounters. The night is a bit cold, um, even though it is moving into summer. Spring kind of making its way through. But it does seem that the night air is quite a bit chilly, and there's just a little bit of rime in the air, a little bit of just light snowfall. But you're able to keep warm well enough. Fire out in the kind of high grass and forested area in between the two roads is um, easy enough. Um, you have to kind of come to a point where you have to decide the next morning whether you want to head north of the road and stay off of it that way, or head south of the road and stay off of it that way, or just gain purchase on the road and move along that way. Which do you decide?
I'd say if there's nobody in sight and we feel relatively safe, just cross the road.
Cross the road. Okay. But stay off of it still?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Perfectly acceptable. So early in the very morning on the next day, you come to a situation where up ahead you see that there's a stream that kind of rushes pretty heavily across this game trail that you found and are kind of making use of. It does look like, in this early morning light, it is again cold and a little bit foggy in this area. But as you're moving with caution and you're keeping to kind of low grounding, making sure that Roderick and company are also doing likewise and are more than capably safe, you see up ahead across this kind of stream that there does appear to be a couple of orcs stationed on the northern coast of the stream, you being on the southern side of it. Um, it looks like they are kind of standing watch, and it does look like there are more behind them, kind of around campfires. Looks like they're settling down for the day. Um, Being a half orc yourself, Brooklyn, you know that most of your kind typically will sleep during the day and stay up during the night. They're nocturnal in that way. Um, and again, they are not out of character. Not just a reminder, because it has been a while since we've brought up other races besides the group and towns. But orcs are not evil. They are typically mercantile and like very
Nomads.
yeah, they're mercenaries, self-sufficient. I mean, they will fight if they have to, but they're not going to like raw wah and try and come murder you and like fly an airplane into your Black Templar Crusaders or anything. It's not going to be like that.
Or
Are they broken?
Do they have
orcs?
any discernible markings?
what did you say, Joe?
What do you say, Sean?
Are they broken orcs?
Are they broken? No.
What? There's no wog?
There's no log. That's not. I don't understand. But anyway.
Poor saps have lost their way.
So looking at the ones that you can see, it does look like there are about 4 of them that are pretty easily spotted. I'll go ahead and shift you to the map. That looks like the 2 that are kind of on the opposite side of the road are in kind of heavier armor with lances or spears, long spears. Pikes is the word I wanted. And then it does look like there are 2 archers, one high up on a kind of white stone rock, and one over kind of on a little hill, like a higher ground outcropping, just there. And based on where you're coming from, you can kind of see that the camps, it looks like one is got a bigger fire, and it looks like most of the cooking's happening over there. And the other one looks like the the individuals that are near it are kind of starting to bed down.
Do they have any markings on them?
They don't appear to have any talismans or anything that denotes them as any specific tribe or clan or faction.
There's a lot of them.
There are.
Pretty hefty.
Anybody remember the name of the group of orcs we were potentially going to help?
I don't even know about that.
Dark Flame?
Sounds right.
Darkly. Yeah, that does sound right.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and just cue up some music so it's not just my computer fan blowing in the background.
Just stand by. I want to look in the notification section real quick.
Sure.
Good thing.
West Galida Wood have sent out a request for specialists to come investigate strange matter near their stronghold. The single mountain in the Ice Fang Range is smoking. White plume of smoke, unending smoke, skyline, northern skyline. So I'm not sure if that's too far away.
It would be.
Oh yeah, that was on the other side of the mountain range, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was way north and north and
Basically,
east.
if you were to form kind of a... It's like almost due north of Mudis, the Dark Flame encampment. And then there's the big Ice Fang block in the middle. And then on the other side of that is Purple Light. And that's where you kind of are right now, just south of Purple Light. But yeah, the armor that the plated ones is wearing, it's very heavy, spiked. It definitely looks like a crueler armor than you're probably used to. The pikes that they're wielding, the blades are kind of wicked and like just hammered to sharp points. It doesn't look like they are identical in any way. It looks like it was more just a piece of metal that was bludgeoned into pointy ends. But the
Before
archer...
we get into it, John, I'm sorry. I think you have the prior shambles token out.
Yep.
So while he's working on that, I'm going to suggest we do not engage. There's too many of them. The description of them seems pretty tough. Let's
Thank you.
stay in the trees if we can and stealth out of here.
Okay.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay. Yeah, so you can circumnavigate them, but based on their kind of watch patterning here, it does look like that's going to be a either back up and then wide fan out around them, and then hope to find another crossing on the stream, whichever direction you happen to go in. It doesn't look like this stream is very massive, so it's pretty likely that you'll find one. You might have to get damp, whatever. But you have that option, or you could stay close and fan closer, but that means you'll be moving with more stealth. And the stealth rolls have already been rolled. It's just that this is a durational thing. So if you want to move quickly, it looks like the best way to do so would be to go directly through them. But wide fan, close fan, which would you like? Or
How long do we think it would take us to get around them?
better part of 2, possibly 3 hours, depending on the crossing.
Wide fan would be my vote.
Yep, and that's about the same.
That's fine with me.
Okay. If you go wide fan safe route, then yeah, this is pretty much avoided. Easy enough. And you head on along for some time, and you make it just outside of Purple Light before you intend to bed down. Do you want to go into Purple Light and stay at an inn and get a soft bed, or do you want to stay outside of Purple Light and find camp here in the wild?
Does Roderick know anybody, or is there anybody that knows Roderick in Purple Light? Is there a reason we shouldn't be here?
Roderick's reply to that would be something kind of, I've never heard of Purple Light. He almost channels his dad for a moment.
He's gonna have to cut that out.
Stop it.
We've been on the road for a while.
Could you
Can
remind
we go ahead, Andy?
I was going to say, could you remind me, John, of the name of the thieves group in Bluegate?
The Men of Faith.
Yeah, are there any of those people here in Purple Light? Would
I don't know. Are
Ryan
there?
know that?
There
Well,
are
I
not,
mean-
but they are friendly because they were extraditing the Crimson Scarves from here into Bluegate.
But as to say, there's a chance someone could tell them that
Right.
he's in town.
Right.
Well, what you would know is that it's probably not likely anyone's going to recognize Roderick on sight.
We also have very good standing in Purple Light right now.
That's true.
Yeah, that's true.
Still wouldn't hurt, guys, in case somebody comes looking for a young man with bright red hair. We got any extra clothes that nobody threw away?
No, I threw mine out.
Raya, are you the kind of thief that has a disguise kit?
One, don't try to, label me. I'm not a thief.
Are you that kind of thief?
2, Shambles had the
Rogue.
disguise kit.
I
I'm
don't have
the
a
murderous
disguise kit.
type.
I know
I'm
how to
tiny
use a
type.
disguise kit.
Why don't you define what Shambles? Why don't you disguise Roderick with your disguise kit?
I don't
Real
own a
tired, you
disguise
turtle.
kit. I know how to use one.
Oh,
While they're
oh.
doing that, Benson's going to kind of do a little finger jabby and cast prestidigitation on his hair to change his hair color to jet black.
Okay.
There you go.
It's not stealing if they're already dead, says Ryan.
No, I don't steal from people. I didn't rob the dead either. I told people to stop stealing from the tombs.
You guys are all typecasting him. Gosh.
Goddamn Gondar.
Is it because he's
Yeah,
elf?
He
God,
was
I
the bad
really
guy.
did. God, really did libel you pretty hard, didn't he?
If you're going into Purple Light, great. So you'll note that, again, the namesake is no longer present. The inn is a pretty clear, easy walk to get to. I'm going to shift the music. It's dull. You've been here before. It's no big difference from what you're used to. And you're going straight to the tavern and inn, right?
I think so.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Really not a lot of people present. Pretty quiet. The only person at the bar at current is a dwarf, kind of just sitting there. And looks like he's pretty well into his cups. John Waters is just cleaning a cup. Looks like he's reading a book, as he was the last time you met him. And yeah, pretty quiet situation. But yeah, what would you like to do? Just order rooms, get it done, and be on with it?
Works for me.
Okay.
Just this can be a side, kind of more role playing part of it. Before Benson would go to bed, he would kind of want to start trying to work the room a little bit, looking for people to be able to tell their fortunes and stuff. Basically, trying to make a little bit of money. He used
Sure.
all his money, so he's trying to make some back.
Okay. So since you're attempting to use your arts to make a coin here, I'm gonna have you make an Arcana check, and it's going to be pretty limited in the town, to be
It's fine.
honest.
Like I said, it's more just making coin. 22.
Yeah, most people are pretty. If you're just doing it in the bar, most people who kind of wander through are kind of like, "Wow, awesome," but they're like not giving you anything. They're just kind of unconcerned. You notice that the dwarf keeps on looking over at you. Like, again, tipping isn't a thing that happens too often out in the more rural districts like Purple Light. It's not something they're expected to do. If there's entertainments, they're just like, wow, someone must have paid them to come up here. They're already being reimbursed.
Got it.
The
Okay.
dwarf, on the other hand, sees you doing it and starts off kind of looking at you like, "Oh, what?" And then kind of looks at you and kind of goes, uh-huh. And then you do something else. He's like, oh, yeah. And then after you finish the trick, he starts clapping, and then he kind of walks over and, sees that you do have some kind of collector or some sort of something for, taking in the coin. And he drops a handful of coins, which make a pretty loud, raining clatter clink in whatever your offering decanter is, and kind of just wanders away. If you look into it, you'll note that he looks like he has dropped about 5 platinum pieces into your coffer,
All right.
and then sits back down, kind of gives you and then goes back to his cups. He does not look wealthy, by the way. He just looks like a regular ass wandering merchant dwarf.
I would sit near the dwarf.
Okay. He looks.
And I intended to before Benson put the show on. But
Okay.
Roll
Well,
pickpocket.
if you're sitting next to him during the show, that's fine. We can kind of retcon a bit,
Yeah,
or
fine.
travel back in time. He kind of looks at you, kind of gives you a look, and then kind of just goes back to watching the show. Picks up his glass, doesn't really give you any attention.
I'll get a table while we're waiting for rooms and settling in. Make sure Roderick, Sophia, and the others are fed.
Okay. Yeah, Wedge and Biggs are just at the bar drinking beers, talking. Sounds like they're shooting the shit, talking about back home. It sounds like.
Cardsman stuff.
Sophia sits alone at a table a ways away from the Arcanist, and looks like she's taken a bottle of wine, which she's paid for out of pocket, and a single glass, and is over by herself. And then Roderick takes his food, no alcohol, with him to the rooms once they're ordered.
I'm gonna tell him.
Okay.
He's not gonna be alone.
Yeah, when you get to the room with Roderick and kind of sit with him, you see him kind of pull out the citrine necklace, kind of set it down on the table where he has his food, pull out a book and kind of set it down and start reading it as he's eating, and he says, "Thank you. You've helped a lot, but it does seem that I'm just headed in the same direction as before."
Try not to dwell on it. Other people are doing stuff in the main room, so.
It's not that I'm trying to dwell on it. I keep thinking every time I come to a decision in my life. Up until this point, most of them had been made for me. When I made the decision to leave Bellum and study more at the monastery, that's when I left myself open. That's when I became unguarded. And that's when Lady Vester and her friends assaulted me. It's hard to describe. I don't know how long you've lived, but for me, a very short 17 years, and it feels like I haven't really done much. And even though I said it out of idiocy, I keep thinking back to the idea of heroically walking up to Calarith and fighting him, even though I know I'd probably fail in the effort.
Kid, I can't tell you how many times I've daydreamed about punching a white dragon directly in the face. I'm with you 100% on this dream of yours.
I don't know how I could sway those who are trying to safeguard me, and I understand that they mean well by it, and that I am just a child. I don't think I'm the one to do it, but I know it has to be done. He has to be stopped.
You've got a part to play yet. Let's make sure you survive to play it.
Thank you. And he looks back down to his book, which you would recognize, kind of looking it over, as the Bynod, the Holy Book of Atavius. It basically tells the tale of Anio Nomen, the first man, basically being deceived by power and destroying his betrothed Prisawel in the efforts, causing the two original gods to come down, and Atavius in specific, to cast judgment on him and forge the first true law of mortality, the law of death. It's a tale that's probably banging in your head, coming from some depths that you're not sure why they're popping up, but you kind of have this strange familiarity with this holy text that he's kind of going over.
I'll just post up in the room, keep an eye on the door and the windows.
Sounds good. Back in the common room, Riot, like you said, you saddle up next to this dwarf while he's kind of watching the interactions that the mage is having with the townsfolk and in his performances here. Is there anything in particular you were trying? He's not engaging you, though. It doesn't look like he's taking the bait, if you will. Is there anything?
I just kind of point of insult. Hand to Mutus. Heard of him?
Nope.
No. Too bad. He's a pretty cool guy. Been traveling with him for a while. We're headed over to Bonrock in the morning. You from there?
Yep. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be rude, but I don't particularly trust elves. I'm trying to drink in peace and watch the show, so...
I don't blame you. Zalpo, I said he didn't used to be an elf.
I don't really understand how that works at all. And I'm not
Me either.
terribly...
I was born a human. Can I get you a drink?
I'm fine. Thank you. He just seems to kind of cloister himself at that point.
All this riot prejudice.
It doesn't...
This guy. I leave.
Yeah, it doesn't... It doesn't seem like... Make an insight check.
Oh, he's just a racist.
No. Make an insight check.
9. He's just a racist.
Yeah, I mean, if that's the way you think it would be, that's fine. With the 9 insight, that's your initial presumption would be it. Really, you're not getting much more from him, other than he seems to be closed off and bigoted.
I leave.
Okay. Yeah, he continues drinking. In the midst of it, you can see him kind of like, at the beginning there, he was kind of, stalwart and grumpy, smile, clapping, and then putting the coins in your decanter. He then goes and sits back down.
That guy's awesome.
Yeah. When you look at the platinums, you'll notice that they are stamped in the dwarven patterning. It does look like they are from the Grey Swords, which is the main clan of dwarves in Osiria. You can make a history check if you want to know a little bit more about the Grey Swords, if I haven't already told you about them.
I don't remember hearing one. 14.
Good enough. So the Grey Swords were a clan that were formed by a single individual who just barely survived with his life during the Grey War. The Grey War was a instigation between the Meridians and the Osirians, which spread across the world. It was actually more of a world war than anything else that's ever arisen on the continent. That said, an individual was created by the Meridians, his name Nayland Balcard, Dwarf Slayer, the Scourge of Tessa. He killed thousands of dwarves in the region, putting them near to extinction in this region. And one individual at the Battle of the Capital made it to him and got through his magical barriers and his wards with his magical blade and mortally wounded Nayland before being kind of brought low himself. The battle ended at that point, Nayland disappearing into the sands of time and the war ending pretty much shortly thereafter. But the Grey Swords, because of that defense, because of that individual's success at that battle. They're kind of the big cheese and have been for very, very long time, hundreds of years.
Okay. I would of course thank him as profusely, and ask if there's anything else that I could possibly help him for such a generous donation.
You see, if you're talking to him from a distance, he kind of waves you off like he doesn't want any attention.
Okay. No, I would tip my head and say, very well then, and I'd go on and not acknowledge him again.
Yeah. Seems like he's trying to keep himself to himself. But yeah, and if I mean, your insight is pretty much he's just trying to lay low.
Stay low, yeah, and I would respect that.
Okay. Brooklyn and Grok. I didn't hear much from you. Is there anything you two are doing during the evening, or just getting ready for bed?
Ready for bed.
Brock is smoking a pipe, relaxing, and then getting ready for bed.
Okay. Nothing happens during the evening time or the night. You wake up in the morning and you continue on, making your way up to the roots of the Ice Fang Mountains. There is a single path, and you would know the wandering off path is not going to be something that is going to be done easily, if at all, heading up the Ice Fangs. So that said, I'm presuming you're going to take the road, but
Should be fine at this point. We're off the main road, so less likely to encounter scarves and nonsense.
Okay. So there's a series of switchbacks. It's literally just a winding road, and it's also my favorite word ever. A winding road that continues up the hills. There's a couple of flat areas on the ascent, but it's mostly just winding roads, climbing. Before it gets too snowy, though, just up a ways, you can kind of hear a loud crash, and then a scream. And the road is little more than, just a 10-foot wide trail, really, that goes up the mountain. But it looks like it's wide enough for carts, wagons, what have you. But yeah, you hear a loud crash and then a series of screams. It does seem like something is happening a couple hundred feet up ahead. And when I say up, I mean up. You're kind of going up at easterly trajectory up the hill.
Can we discern the nature of the crash? Is it rocks falling? Is it trees falling?
It definitely doesn't sound like something natural. It sounded like something kind of sudden. And if you're kind of paying attention and listening for more, you hear kind of a roaring sound, more screaming, horses whinnying, and you feel like you would need to approach closer to kind of get any more idea as to what's going on.
Raya stealth up there and check it out, or no?
Oh, now you want the rogue?
Not thief.
Murderer.
Since it's up, why don't we have Shambles?
Shambles
take a
could
look
just
at it?
fly up there.
That's true. Do that.
That's gonna offer.
Shambles, make just a perception check real quick before you start flying up.
23.
Yeah, you're pretty sure that if you go upwards and kind of make your way in that direction, you're gonna be visible on the ascent, because they're at a higher ground, and if they're looking in your direction, a single thing coming up into the sky will basically just be like, here I am. There's nowhere to hide skywards. There are a couple of trees here and there, but it's clear, it's open enough that if you were to ascend, it's literally just going to be like, here I am, beacon time.
We can keep moving up to the next switchback and try to
I'd say just go for it. If there's a crashing sound, people screaming, someone's in danger. It's not necessarily an attack. A wagon wheel could have broken. Another purple worm could have emerged.
If you want to approach, your stealth checks have already been taken into account, so you can move up quietly and get to a visual point on ground if you want to. That's perfectly fine, and then you can decide what you want to do past that point. So yeah, you make your way on up, and you can see that up ahead there appear to be very tall humanoid figures covered in white fur that appear to be mangling human parts and putting them into their mouths. The blood kind of staining against their white fur and beards and kind of facial hair. They have strange horns on their heads, And it looks like they've knocked over a couple of wagons. It looks like one horse looks like it was splattered by a massive rock. Standing up on the highest portion of the hill, kind of looking down in your kind of direction, is a massive one of these, kind of staring down. It's the size of a giant, just staring in that direction. But they're all basically the same. They have a very feral-looking face, horns on their heads, like goat horns, or tiefling horns. And they're all kind of covered in white fur with massive clawed hands and feet. And it looks like they are tucking in on...
Lord, there's a bunch of them.
They are tucking
Yes.
in on a group of dead people. The carts that look like they've been knocked over look like they have all types of wood and lumber in them. So your presumption is that these probably came from Purple Light because there's a little bit of a foresting community there. And it looks like they were stopped from ascending by these creatures. Roderick says, "We've got to do something." To Shambles, kind of close to him. We've got to help. We got to help them.
Do I see anybody alive?
Well, you already made a perception check. Good enough. No, everyone's dead. It looks like they made very short work. You actually watch in horror as one of them kind of has like a woman in hand who's already dead and kind of limply hanging from, kind of tosses it up over his shoulder, and the big one kind of snatches her out of the air with like a sickening pop. And then
Is anybody here able to identify what the creature is?
a nature check would be required for such a identification.
Seems like a grok
Can-
thing.
I could try.
I believe in you.
I can help him. So, help him.
Ooh.
19.
They're Yeti, and the larger of them is an abominable Yeti. You would know that Yetis typically hide in snowy areas. It's not too far beyond this that it actually starts becoming snowy. It is a bit strange that they would descend down the mountain, though, as there's plenty of game for them to be hunting up in that direction. Yetis are not natural beasts, they're monstrosities, so it's presumed that they were created at some point, similar to how owlbears and other types of monstrosities were created. But yeah, they are wholly self-serving, and this is probably a familial pack, so they're probably all related.
How do they hunt? Sight, smell? Those are lucky.
It's like they bash shit to death.
Typically, it is a pretty thorough hunting affair. They kind of hunt similar to like a polar bear would hunt in kind of mountainous areas, using blizzards and deadly frost areas that would weaken their targets, and then kind of engaging them. This doesn't look like it was a act of. This looks like it was an act of like direct malice. Like it looks like this was planned. It looks like this was definitely something that was tried for. And oh, sorry, apologies. 23 perception. No, probably not. You probably wouldn't see it. Okay, cool.
Which way is the wind blowing?
So the wind is actually blowing down the hill. So it would be blowing from their direction towards you. You are downwind of them.
Perfect.
Yeah, let's try to maintain that and sneak around them. Let them eat in peace.
I agree.
Okay. Yeah, if you're leaving them to it, okay. You continue on along the way using your stealth checks that have, again, already been rolled, and make your way around them. You definitely know that this is a very hostile territory, and kind of moving up into the areas where the snow starts to pile in a bit more. You can see that there are several sightings of massive footprints. It does look like there are potentially a couple of these different familial clans of the Yeti kind of moving out and about around the roads on Bon Rock. And strangely, more southernly than you, with your nature roll, would anticipate. Like something's driving them down from the mountain. That said, up ahead, on the road, once you reconnect with it, reconvene with it, you can see that there is a massive gate up ahead. The gate has a face that's been carved into the stone around it, that's shaped like a dwarf's face. Very angular, very art. What's the style that I'm thinking of? It's not Deco.
Art Nouveau?
No, Art Deco is what I do want. Art Nouveau is the curvy, more elvish looking, right? Art Deco, kind of dwarvish face. Its mouth is kind of opened, and it looks like there are stairs that kind of lead in, and kind of patternings that look like it has kind of a beard that kind of inserts itself into the mouth very strangely. But the gates are open. It does look like there are two massive bronze doors on either side that are kind of entered inwards. And I'm going to go ahead and move you to that.
Whoa.
Fortunately, I do not have the cool music I wanted, but that's fine. I'll see if I've got
We
anything
must be
close.
huge.
No, it's just so you can see them on the map. If you make them smaller, it's
I know.
aggravating. But entering in, the very first thing that you'll see kind of as you approach are four pillars which are currently obscured by the group. They don't seem to be holding anything up. They're just kind of standing out in front of the place. It looks like the entryway leads into the city proper inside of the mountain.
So,
Have I
Roderick.
heard of this?
Yes.
Where should we take you?
The maidens were the ones that were bringing me here. I genuinely don't know. Sophia kind of looks to him and says, I don't know anyone present here either, but if they were bringing you here with intent of finding someone official, it would probably be at the cathedral in the center of the city.
Alright. Again, we're just travelers. Come to visit Bonrock.
Sophia says, I will safeguard Roderick. If you want, we can head to the cathedral. But if you all wish to splinter off from us and see if we can't fan out and possibly find a more appropriate safe haven for him, then that might serve better.
He would certainly attract less attention than if he were with all of us. Taking a look
For
at
sure.
Brooklyn and Grok and myself.
That is what I was
And
thinking.
Benson, because he's famous.
That is what I was thinking as well. I will head with him to the cathedral. I do not know anyone here, but I'm certain that he, even with just his father's credentials, should be able to at least draw in some attention. Not the unwanted variety, but more the noble kind.
We'll try to meet up with you there after a short time. Please be safe.
Of course. They head on in. So the very first thing that you see is a series of buildings with tight kind of alleyways, but a very massive open pathway with a couple buildings in its center. There are signs in Dwarvish that kind of determine like what the name of the road that you're on is. But if you speak Dwarvish, you would know that this kind of pathway here is known as the Silvery Way. And there are a lot of vendors, street market kind of mentality. And as you're kind of walking through, I'm sure for Benson, Raya, possibly Grok, your just kind of eyes are continually like, oh wow, they've got that kind of situation. It looks like they're selling pretty much everything you can kind of think of. It's a pretty big market.
Huh.
So how do we want to split up? Do we want to split into like a team of two and a team of three, or two teams of two and an individual by themselves, or everybody split by themselves?
I definitely don't want to go anywhere by myself. And
I'll go with Benson. He and I'll shop for books and robots and cool stuff.
Yeah, it'll be cool.
You
I need a
guys.
smith.
Okay.
Oh yeah, we all do need smiths, don't
If you ask
we? Yeah, you would.
in the Silvery Way, where's a smith? Everyone kind of goes, well, the smithing circle. Take Beldendar's up to Angham's, up on the northeast side. You should be able to find any kind of smith, whatever you're looking for. You want nails made? Sure, they can do it. You want silver link chains as thin as a hair? They can do it. Got the best smiths in all Osiria here. Well, bar the gray swords, of course.
Out of character note, which one of us has the sword, the broken elven sword?
I think you do. The one from
The one from the tower.
Purple light?
Purple light, yeah.
you were carrying it.
Was I? I could have swore you had it.
Sounds like it's on the fucking ground back in Purple Light.
You guys have it. I'll just say
Somebody
that.
claim it.
I'll just say that Brooklyn has it. It only weighs.
I have it.
It only weighs 3 pounds. It's not
Yeah, that's fine. I'll take it.
gonna break the shoulders. But yeah, that said.
I guess it's back there.
Laying in the river when we dumped all your shit.
Oops.
Just did by accident. Just... It was
It was
wrapped up
heavy.
in something.
Oops. Who's heading up?
I'll go to the smith as well.
Okay. So if you're moving to the smithing circle, just go ahead and move your tokens over in that direction. And then, yeah, in the marketplace, they're, like I said, they're selling all sorts of shit. The thing that's very confusing for Benson is where are they getting this shit? Is the main thing. Like, who's making all of this cool stuff? It doesn't seem to be anywhere that you're familiar with, or you're not sure who these craftsmen could be. It's nice to see them.
Just cover Benson's eyes when we walk past any place with robes.
Grok, where are you heading?
Grok headed to Thralk's path.
Thralk.
The Revelry Circle?
Yeah, I was hoping to find healing potions.
Okay. You're not going to find them there. You would find them in the Silvery Way. Like I said, they seem to be
I would
selling
find them in
all
Silver-
sorts
okay.
of magical items there.
Alrighty,
And
let's do that.
you find a merchant. He is a tiefling, but he is not a traditional tiefling as you are aware, red skin, horns, etc. He does have horns, and he does have kind of a pinkish colored skin, but he doesn't look like humanoid tiefling. He looks like a dwarf who has kind of pinkish skin, kind of white beard, white hair, with a single black stripe that runs down the center of it, and 2 horns that kind of twist around his ears. And he kind of looks up at you and says, "Well, how can I help you? Looking for potions? I got all different types of potions, elixirs. Oh, anything you could think of."
Yeah, you're the man I'm looking for. Looking for stuff that'll help you when you get hurt.
You had the smell of an adventuring type. I assumed you were the type, so it sounds like you're looking for some
Grok rubs his nose.
healing potions. And he puts out like
Yeah.
a couple of bottles. 45 a piece for the smaller ones, 200 for these bigger ones, and I got this real nice one. And he puts out this massive kind of like jug. If you've ever smoked hookah, it looks like a big hookah bottle just capped off at the top of the cork. He says, 1,000 for that one.
And remind me again, a platinum piece is worth how much, John?
10.
10 gold.
Okay. And how? So I assume that the middle one is superior or greater.
It would be the lowest, the next highest, and then something different. The big one doesn't look like it's a healing potion. It's too massive.
Yeah, I don't have enough money for that anyway.
Fair
So
enough.
the middle one.
Well, so these heal you just fine. Like you got scratch, boo boo, whatever, that'll heal you there. And I think my voice kind of changed, but we'll switch it back. Here we go. And then this one here, this will heal something like if you get your arm cut real deep, muscle tissue or what have you. And then this one just makes you stronger all around when it comes to taking damage and stuff like you're talking about. Forever.
Forever.
Mm-hmm.
Forever.
That's right. Forever, ever.
Well,
I'm sorry, Mr. Grok.
do I know what that is? Do I know what that is? Do I know what that is?
Nice.
You can make
Get inspiration, John.
I've got it. I'm gonna use it against you. Go ahead, make an arcana.
Get away, you don't got it, please.
Make an arcana check.
Okay. 16.
You do not know.
It's like mystery potion. You never know what's gonna
Like I
happen.
said, it is massive. It looks like if you're gonna drink that thing down, it's gonna take like either a couple of efforts, or you're gonna have to basically just be like, "Woo, spring break!" and like,
You're gonna draw a crowd.
right.
Somebody bought the big bottle.
Chug.
So, do I still have? I think I still have that Ryu piece, right?
Yeah.
And how much is that worth?
I don't know how much is it worth.
Well, it's worth a
10,000.
lot.
You make a history check to
Would
try
you
and
say
determine.
10 million?
God damn it!
Am I
Okay.
the only one here that's broke as hell?
Mm-hmm.
Anybody want to give me inspiration?
I don't have it.
Brooklyn, you have it.
Do I have it?
I don't think
I
he
don't
does.
know.
If Zach doesn't have it, nobody has it.
Yeah, I don't remember getting it.
You did spend a few of them in that fight. You have no idea. You know it's worth a lot, though.
Okay. So he would put the Ryu piece on the table and say,
You see the dwarf's eyes kind of go, "Whoa."
what about this?
He has 2 potions of normal size, and then 2 of the other ones, and then the big one. He says, "You want all of them?"
I want all of them.
Well, you can have all 5 of them. And he starts reaching for the riot. Do you stop him?
Nope.
He takes it. All right. And he starts looking at it.
You got played.
You've got 5 potions.
Okay.
All right. As you kind of take them, you see that behind you, he seems to be closing down his shop.
I'm done for the year.
Forever.
Um,
He just
I'm
retired.
gonna go buy me a castle.
He's gonna buy the whole Dwarven Isles.
yeah. That said, anything else you want to do in the Silvery Way? No. Is there anything else that you want to buy or purchase?
I'm gonna start drinking that potion.
You start drinking the
changes you want to make on people.
you start
Right
drinking
now. Right now.
you
the
drink the
middle
big
of
one
some
right
green
now.
violence.
Okay, if that's the case, go ahead and do me a favor and make a Constitution saving throw.
You were kind of like Ed McMahon with that big check that shows at the person's doorstep. I'm just saying that was really cool for you.
Okay.
8.
You have some effort, and you feel your stomach become very inundated with the liquid, and you're not able to finish consuming it now. It feels like it's like it's too much. You feel
I
like
could take it in spaces, right?
you feel like about 8 hours later, like giving it some downtime, you'll be able to drink the rest of it if you're allowed for that. But yeah, it doesn't feel like any benefits are happening so far.
Or you could share.
Your
Um,
magic bloated. You got some enchanted burps coming.
Yeah, it's the fizzy lifting stuff, except without the lifting.
Burps are for lucky.
Flame.
So everyone else went straight to the smithing
Turtle
circle.
farts.
Hurdle farts.
I don't know why I did.
Okay.
I could get my stuff fixed.
So
That's fair.
as you kind of move the Beldendar's path and make your way towards Angum's path, you hear metal slamming on metal, like hammer blows. But the one thing that seems to be the confusingest bit about this is it's not a cacophony of just ting 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 ting, a bunch of people doing it. It seems like everyone is doing it exactly on time, no matter where they are inside of the circle. It seems like you could if you were a watch having individual, you could set your watch to the timing of these hammer blows. It sounds
Creepy.
like they're all basically set to hammer on a specific second.
I'm 30% clock.
It's pretty crazy. But yeah, there's definitely a number of different shops. It does look like the very first thing that you see as you kind of enter into this circle here is that there is a building that says questions, ? In common, and then underneath it in Dwarvish, and then underneath it in Elvish, and then underneath it in, you think it's Old Osirian, but you're not sure. And then that's it. That's all the sign says. Questions in 4 languages.
Yeah, I go over there.
Yeah, I could go in there, I guess.
Okay. Inside, you see a dwarf. His beard looks like it's a bit scraggly and looks like it's come out in patches. He's very old, and he kind of looks at you. Oh, hey. You got questions?
Yeah?
Oh, you come to the Smiths, their region. What are you? Well, you got the questions. You ask them. I won't ask you questions. You're the one that's got them.
Which direction do I travel to have Mithril repaired?
Mithril? Oh, well, the only smiths that can mess with the mithril will be in the center of the circle, inside the Temple of Angum.
Thank you.
Have fun.
I'll do my best.
Okay.
I leave.
Brooklyn?
I'm just gonna pull out the broken sword. I'm be like, where can I get this repaired?
Oh, boy. Here, let me take a look. And he kind of reaches into his coat, pulls out what appears to be like opera goggles, and kind of walks over to it. Oh, that's just real weird. It's a pretty interesting pattern there. Oh, I'd say you could go and speak to. You could speak to Ashbraid. Yeah, Ashbraid. He's 2 houses down.
Okay, thank you.
All right. And what about you, little fella?
Oh, I'm just here with my friends. We're trying definitely not to get lost within the city.
No, right? Oh, that's an interesting skirmisher unit you've got there. Typically, they just run patrols. What?
Whoa, no, this one is very special. This is my friend. His name is Shambles, and I'm sure that you could help him as well.
Oh, he's a true undaunted. Interesting. Well, how can I help you, metal man?
I'll start pulling blades out and setting them on his desk or table. I got this. Kind of got
Well, fuck me
it's ruined.
well, fuck me sideways. You really
No, thank you.
don't know how to handle your weapons.
No, sir.
Just breaking the shit out of them.
Yes, sir.
These are pretty common tools here. This magical dagger you got there might require a little bit more skill. I think Ashbraid could help you with that one pretty well enough. But any folks could handle this sword here. Did you pull out the broken blade?
Yeah.
I don't think anybody in the Smithing Circle will be able to help you with this here. This is true Osirian craftsmanship.
Okay, that's cool.
You could probably have something done with it, but it probably won't be as good as what was. And I'm not saying that Dwarven Smiths are worse than Osirians. Do not let me make you think that that's the case. Dwarven Smiths are way better than Osirians. It's just that, when you create something and you make the network of metal and the lattices within.
Oh, sir, I wouldn't have a man of your stature repair a blanket, now would I? I got a elbow at Benson.
That's a good analogy. Yeah.
Anything
Also,
you could do with? I'll hand him my pitchfork. It's like, you got any ideas?
anyone in the Smithing Circle could help you with this. No
It's
problem.
not broken. I don't know. I think could be cooler.
Oh, you're looking for an enchanter.
Maybe.
Yeah, well,
You got one of those?
I would say head down to the Temple of Angum. That's the best place to deal with those kind of matters. But Ashbraid could probably do something if you wanted it done quick and cheap.
I don't know about quick and cheap. And what was it? What circle?
The Smithing Circle.
No, the other one.
The Temple of Angum?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That seems more Benson's thing.
No, alright.
Would I be able to leave the dagger with Brooklyn and some money to get some repairs done? Would that be acceptable mechanically?
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I mean,
Yeah.
if he's fine with taking it, yeah.
Okay, also, out of character, I want you guys to know if this city goes to hell, we're saving this guy alone, by the way. Only him. I don't care about anybody else. As long as he is alive.
I'm doing the opposite.
So it sounds like everyone but Brooklyn is heading to the temple, right?
I went to the center of the Smithing Circle.
Yeah, that's where they're heading. The temple.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought the temple was.
I thought you were also
further
talking
away.
about Cathedral.
Oh, no. The Dwarven Cathedral is like all of the gods. Yeah. Each of the circles has its own temple inside
Got
of it. Yeah. Sorry.
Can I just leave X amount of money with Brent?
Yeah.
And say, okay.
If he's okay with doing the chore, yeah, that's fine. Okay, so you head on to the temple. We'll go ahead and deal with Brent because it's easy. You head over to Ashbraids, and you see that there are a couple of dwarfs outside just kind of staring at this sheet of metal, which is just slightly just kind of like this dusky kind of red. Like it's been heated, but it's been sitting there for a long time, and they're just staring at it. There's three of them. One of them has the sheet like held by a set of tongs. The other one's holding a hammer. And the last one's kind of like the oldest of the three, kind of staring at it. He's got a massively gray beard, which is tied up into like 16 different braids, which have all been kind of pulled away in different patternings under his arms, over his arms, and around his like waist. And it looks like that's all he's wearing besides a loincloth. And then the other two are dressed, in kind of like leather, aprons, like full like blacksmithing garb, and they seem to be kind of looking at him, waiting.
I guess I'll wait with them. I mean, I don't want to interrupt them. They seem to be doing something important.
As they're kind of sitting there, you watch him kind of looking at the metal. And then in Dwarvish he says, "Now." And they all slam down the hammer, or he slams down the hammer, and you see him take the metal and quickly flip it over in beat, and the next one, and then flip, beat, and they keep doing that for about a minute. And then they stop, and it looks like it's kind of cooled out a bit. He says, "All right, give it another heat." And then he kind of turns and looks. "Actually, let it cool on the anvil for a second. It looks like I got a thing." "Hey, hello, who's there?"
Howdy.
Hey, how can I help you?
Okay, I'll pull out the broken elvish sword that we got from the tower and his dagger. Like, I need these repaired if possible.
"What the fuck is that?" He says as he walks over to your sword and he says, "May I?"
Go ahead.
Takes it, just the handle portion, and starts looking over the metal. "Well, holy shit. That's really, really pretty. You got the other bits?"
Yes, I do. I'll pull them out.
"Well, I can put it back together. It's gonna look fucked up, but it'll work."
How messed up.
So the brake lines, you're gonna be able to see them. It's gonna ruin the patterning here. And it's not gonna be as pure looking as it might have done when you broke it. When it comes to whatever's magic is latent in this weapon, he says as he's holding the handle, and he's hearing the singing. I don't know if that's ever gonna come back. But I'm gonna do my best on that one. I'm gonna charge you 200, and then you just got that knife there.
Yeah.
Who the fuck fucked this thing up?
That's one of my buddies. He likes to throw it around.
Well, you treat a blade like a bitch, and it's gonna break. That's a hell of a thing.
That's what they say.
That's one of them phrases they use.
Yep.
Ancient dwarven proverb.
If you treat a blade like a bitch, it's gonna break. BBB, that's the rule. It's the old BBB proverb.
You know of anybody that could fix the swords, make it look like it did beforehand? At least in this town?
Hell no.
No. Okay. That's probably like a lost cause then.
Yeah, the only thing I could think of that would do for that is if you go down and ask the high priest of the Church of Atavius in the capital to perform a miracle for you. That's pretty much what you got. And Atavius willing on that one, I suppose. But yeah, that dagger, 5 gold, no problem. We'll put it together for you.
Well, we'll just have to hold out on the sword thing, so I don't got that much. But we can fix
I'm
the
sponsoring
dagger.
you. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Then fix them both.
Alright. Well, we'll get to work on it. It'll be about 2 days for the sword. If you want us to do the dagger first, 20 minutes.
Yeah, I'll wait for the dagger first.
Alright, we'll get to it. Go ahead and settle that. He's speaking in Dwarven when he goes to him. If you don't speak it, then it's just gibberish. Do you speak Dwarvish?
Nope.
Okay. Blah, 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 blah. It looks like they're putting the piece of metal away, which looks like it was an important endeavor. And then they start banging out the dagger. Seems like they're just kind of reinforcing the blade with a bit of material. Alright, cutting away from you back to the temple. Raya, you notice that the others are kind of tailing you. Do you group up or do you just avoid them?
Nah, I'm just gonna find the Mithril guys.
Okay. You head into the temple. You can see that there are a bunch of folks in robes just kind of walking about, speaking in the Dwarvish tongue. Sounds like they're just kind of gibbering on about current events, theory regarding metalworking. It definitely sounds like there are a lot louder hammer blows present within. And you can see that there are a number of strange kind of artifices that have been set up to slam massive hammers down on massive bits of metal. It looks like they are just forging away, forming all sorts of different things as you're kind of looking around. It looks like this place is where they make the stuff. But yeah, there doesn't look like there's any particular mithril guy. It just looks like there's a bunch of people present. Eventually, one of the attendants kind of looks over at you and says, "Excuse me, can I help you?"
I'll show him my blade. And tell him he's gonna know what to do.
Come with me.
I follow him.
He kind of heads off in a different direction. Hold on, my cats are being really annoying. I'm going to be right back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
fix
that
that.
sounds
hear
serious.
that.
Oh, John's gonna need medical attention.
Maybe.
You are willing to stay in this town for 2 days?
Should have gambled on the miracle.
Stop it.
I was thinking about it, but I don't know how close we are to the town.
We're so far away from the capital.
Yeah.
We're ridiculously far away from the
Oh,
capital.
I thought he meant at the cathedral here, in the center of this town.
No, I think he meant the Osirian capital, which is like weeks away from where we are.
All right, sorry about that.
Everything cool?
Yeah,
Of course.
the little boy, he and the big boy, they fight. He, Nayland, the larger cat, he cries a lot, but he's not really, like, he's just trying to assert his dominance, and failing. They're not, like, hurting each other. It's this little cat is annoying the crap out of him, and he doesn't want to fight. Anyway,
Glad it's settled.
yeah, well, I put one in one room, and the little one's now in here. But yeah, Temple, the guy leads you away. We'll get back to you here in a second. Benson and Shambles, same situation, like I said. Lots of hammering, big hammers, weird, strange machines that are also hammering. Power hammers, if you will. It does look like there is a lot going on inside of these temple halls. This room that you're in, this chamber, has 100-foot high ceilings, pillars every 100 feet that are holding it up. And it looks like it's probably a good 2,000 feet long and 2,000 feet wide, just the room that you're in. It's massive.
Well, yeah, I'll take that in for a minute. And if anyone sort of looks at us questioningly, I'll ask about enchanting weapons.
Eventually someone does come over, and when you ask about that, he says, "Oh, well, I do have a couple of apprentices who are interested in utilizing some residuum in the process. Do you have a specific goal in mind?"
Really, just shopping around, seeing what's possible. I'm new to this.
Well,
My associate here knows much more about magic than I do. He might be the one to explain the process too, if that were necessary.
he kind of says a word in Dwarvish to gauge if the halfling can speak it.
I don't believe I can. No.
He kind of goes,
We were in the ring, or is that just for reading?
Oh, that kind of depends. Yeah, if I.
"It's for all.
For everything, then
It's you are Dwarvish speaking and reading when you have the ring on."
yeah. Then yep.
He
Wait, did Shambles have that or did I?
You have it.
yeah, because
Oh.
I gave it to you after the first body switch.
so the
Cool. Then
real,
yeah.
real quick, the envoy body let you speak Dwarvish. The skirmisher body does
Right.
not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I figured I was assuming that I lost that knowledge.
Right. But what the I do want to relay something to you. The skirmisher body, you've figured it out over time, lets you speak Draconic. So I just want to make sure you're aware of that. I don't think it's on your sheet. I
Okay.
don't think I added it, but it should be on there.
I'll forget about that. Oh,
I will remember later. But yeah, he speaks a word to you in Dwarvish. You reply in kind, and he says, "Ah, good. The language is hard to decipher over, and I can speak common fair enough, but there are certain words that don't really translate too well. That said, my attendants that I spoke of, they are capable of enchanting a blade or enhancing a blade so that it is magical in the normal fashion, which you would know is terminology for +1 magic weapon. If you wish to invest a bit more time and coin into the matter, I know a certain number of enhancements myself and might be able to place one or so on this weapon, which you have yet to reveal to me. Yes, of course, it would be a sacred process, very, very serious matter. May you please show me the weapon that you're wanting to enhance in this way?
I tell that Shambles.
I pull out the fork that has been present on my shoulder.
So
Mundane fucking pitchfork.
much like the
I
Jap,
stumble out a very clumsy greeting and
much like
in
the
Dwarven.
the Japanese animes of everyone's life, you would realize that there's kind of like that teardrop kind of look on his face. He's kind of like, and he says, "We could probably make you something similar but better. I don't know if an enchantment would hold on such dingy metal."
What do you have in mind?
Its sentimental value is through the roof.
It's through the roof.
We would
Thank you.
make you a metal weapon similar to what you have present, and we would then enchant it, as I've explained to your associate. And he would relate that +1 or possibly something slightly different.
I'll root through my bag and pull out a handful of 100 gold valued necklaces.
Okay.
What do you think's in my buying range, good sir?
Oh, how many do you have?
I have 8 total. I'm willing to show him 5.
And are you already deducting from the,
Yes.
okay.
I spent
That's
flat
fine.
coin on
Okay.
Brooklyn
The
sticks.
Brooklyn Sticks. Okay. He says, "Well, my apprentices would greatly appreciate the ability to
Exposure.
attempt the matter. I would oversee them to ensure that you at least received a sufficient product, and nothing ill towards. So no fear of it being subpar standards. I would be willing to invest in that matter for a discount. Normally, I would charge about 500 for such a process myself. But if you're willing to let them perform the effort, 400. I think that's more than fair. If you wish for me to perform some of my more rigorous enhancements, I think that with the inclusion of crafting the item, and of course the 400 I mentioned before would include us creating you a sufficient metal weapon. The haft is fine if it is truly sentimental to you. It's pretty well made, as I can see, but this metal here looks like it was beaten to shape with rocks.
Yeah,
And
it sounds
you,
familiar.
you look at it and it's like, this looks pretty good. But it's like,
Yeah, with rocks.
But-
How else are you supposed to shape metal?
with metal. But the dwarf says, if you want something done by me, it's going to be a bit more. I'd say about 800 for something that he would do.
If when he says that, Vincent would break and be like, "What if we were to negotiate more of a trade of something that's a little more long-lasting, than something of this material world, say in the thought of knowledge?"
It's the only thing I seek. I'm always wanting to increase the manifold nature of my book. He looks down to you
What
and nods.
What if I were to trade you a very powerful spell that you could copy
Well,
from
real
my
quick,
book?
what you should know is when you copy a book from a spell book, it destroys the spell book. So this is not.
Really? Oh.
So yeah, that's
Okay, it's
so,
not Pokemon cards trading. Everybody gets what?
It's yeah. You're not like hooking up a link cable and just everybody has all the same.
Bummer.
It's literally if you are wanting them to transcribe from your spell book, it is a rip and tear take. And when the reason why that like arcane halls and such can basically give you the materials you need to make the spell up, is that's what's happening. It's not a there's your spell book, haha, jot jot jot. I got it now. Inside of like a place where they're teaching you the spell, you're not paying for access to be able to read and transcribe. You're paying for the research materials to create the spell on your own.
Okay.
Yeah,
Then.
that's a different matter altogether. That's why it took you an entire day, worth of work instead of just writing some things down.
Okay, then unfortunately, I don't know if I can give that to you, man.
If you have a spell that you don't care about, or a duplicate of a spell you don't care about from a book you're not really utilizing, you could say, "I'll give you."
I didn't know I had multiples. I just thought I was all those ones you gave me. I was like, whatever.
If I gave you a book and you already had the spells, you just have those lying around in a ripped up book that you can use as scrolls.
Oh my gosh, that totally changes stuff. Hold on, I'll get back to you.
Yep, fair enough. Okay, bye. Raya, hi. You time.
Hi.
You are taken to a side room, well off the side of the main hall that I mentioned.
Shit.
Inside, it's probably about 50 foot high by 50 foot wide by 50 foot wide or long. And inside, you can see that there's a massive heated core in the center of this room. It's just an empty floor, and it seems to be like just hot magma, like is present in the room. You can see that there are these strange kind of tables next to it that appear to be kind of mounted on like pintles that can be thrown out over the fire. And you can see that there are 3 priests inside before the attendant leads you in. And it looks like they're in the middle of some sort of kind of strange dwarvish prayer that sounds very kind of like, it sounds like it's more of a mantra or like kind of a cadence that they're trying to perform. Not so much just an actual prayer they're reciting. He kind of looks to you for a second, kind of gives you a look like, hold on. And you see them kind of like continuing their prayer. And as they kind of come to a quiet point, you're expecting them to kind of like acknowledge you, but then they just start yelling really loud at the fire. Like just really loud, just yelling some dwarvish words at the fire. And as they do so, you can watch the fire kind of change color from kind of like an orange to like kind of more of a bright yellow. And it seems like it then becomes white hot for a second until mellowing out to like a bright yellow. They kind of all grin at each other and start saying something in Dwarvish. Do you speak Dwarvish, by the way?
No.
And it sounds like they're kind of like, it's kind of like I don't know if you're familiar with a doctor, like, kind of acknowledging each other and just being like, we did it kind of situation. They seem to be very jovial. And then they all kind of stop and look over at the attendant. The attendant says something to them in Dwarvish, looks back at you, and he says, did you speak the native, or the core tongue, or no? And I know I, as a DM, asked
Does he
you
mean
that.
Dwarvish?
Yeah, you would know he means Dwarvish.
Okay, I speak deep.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that around here.
Noted.
All right.
Just from before, I still have that red quill hanging on me. Does that do anything here?
They don't seem to care.
Okay.
The 3 dwarf priests kind of walk over, and one of them kind of says something in Dwarvish to the others, and he says in Elvish to you, "You are not of the earth, yes?"
Me?
Do you reply in Elvish?
Sure.
He says, a tongue we can work with. And kind of nods his head. The others go, hmm. And then he looks back to you, and in Elvish says, "You have something of import?"
I'll pull the blade and show it to him.
Zadok?
Yeah.
You hear voices kind of at the sword. "Where you get?"
I pulled it out of nowhere.
"This sword, very ancient. During the war of Tooth and Claw." And you're kind of like listening to the Elvish words, and you're like, yeah, he's saying that wrong. Like, he's definitely not 100 on his Elvish.
Stop being a dick. The guy's doing his best.
That's fair enough. Thank you. I'm sorry.
See, Ryan's a good dude.
Yeah, he's all right. I'm sorry. So he says, the sword made, used by one known as Relinor Kila. He nods. He looks to the others, then they start speaking to each other in Dwarvish, and then he looks back to you. It come damaged.
It wasn't perfect when I got it, but I've only made it worse.
Sword supposed to be indestructible.
Now tell him I've heard stories, but nobody knows the full tale.
He walks over to you and he places his hand on your chest, like just suddenly, out of nowhere, just does it. Do you stop him or fight or anything?
No, I like this guy. I'm cool with it.
He kind of places his hand on your chest and he looks at you. Your heart good?
I mean, it works.
He kind of looks at you. Your heart. Metal. Nah. Shakes his head. You hear one of the other doors go, Moglat. And he goes, Your heart. Pure.
I mean, I haven't had any surgeries.
I think you're not understanding what I am saying. We will repair this weapon for you. Also, we will reveal its true nature to you.
Well, that would be amazing.
I tell you this, but you may not wish it if your heart not Muglat. And he seems to just give up on trying to say the Elvish word because it seems you're not picking up what he's saying. He just says in Dwarvish the Dwarvish word that he's trying to translate.
Yeah, some language barrier, I'm sure. I'm just not getting it.
Yeah. We will do this no charge.
Oh, that's amazing.
It will take 6 days.
Okay.
They look to the fire, and you see them all kind of, and kind of talking in Dwarvish, and the dwarf attendant kind of walks over to you and it says, it seems that they are also happy that you've come in good time. They have managed to make the core work for them today. It seems that you've come very fortuitously.
Does the core not always work for them?
Sometimes, I forgot my accent. Sometimes the prayers, they're just not on point. The fire.
Doing a caveman.
Yeah, no, well, that was the guy who was
This guy speaks common.
This guy speaks common.
Sorry.
And he says, sometimes the fire spirits in the earth don't exactly work the way we'd hoped. And since they seem to trust you real well and are doing this for free for you, based on what I was kind of able to understand from your tongue, it would seem that it'd be safe to say that the core here seems to be waning. The name
Using elementals here, or is there an actual spirit to the fire?
No, yeah. So, in Dwarvish culture, I'm assuming you're not very familiar with it, you being from the forests.
Not
and
at all.
Yeah. The dwarfs call up the willingness of Angdanuk, the mountain, to serve. Angum was the first to make something pure and different from the spirits of the earth. The core, it's not so much that it's fire. It too is metal. It too is rock. And that's why the name of this city is as it is. Good Rock.
Huh. Interesting.
But
Would it be possible for me to stay and watch them work?
I don't think it'd be a problem. Let me ask. Blah, 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 blah. Ah! They seem to be fine with it.
Cool. Okay, I'm just going to take up a spot in here and watch them do all their screaming at fire.
You see one of them kind of take the weapon and kind of start, like, moving it around in the air. And then he kind of walks over to a piece of stone and kind of clang, 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 clang. And you're like, that can't be good. And then he kind of, and then he tosses the blade down onto one of the swivel tables and then pushes it out over the fire. And you just watch as like the whole of the table and the blade on top just become kind of like bright red and then a little bit yellow from the metal. And yeah, it seems like they just heat it for a long time. When they get to it, they swivel it back out by reaching out to it with like a shepherd's hook. Not exactly, but looks like it. Kind of pulls it over, and they start, all three of them kind of in unison, kind of hammering at the metal. And you're not sure like what's happening, the process that's happening here, but it looks like the metal's not even moving or changing. It doesn't look like they're doing anything. And then they, do this for about a minute and then stop, and then they just leave it sit there, and then they all kind of start walking around in a counterclockwise circle around the fire, praying and kind of occasionally stopping, and all three kind of looking in at the core and yelling at it. Yep. Fair enough. Cutting away from you, it is a...
Wait, can I ask a question?
Shoot.
So you mentioned a name before when you were talking about the sword. You said Relinor.
Mm-hmm.
Could you type that for us?
Yeah.
So this is someone related to the history of the sword, right?
Someone who at least at some point wielded the sword, yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. You get done with the Silvery Way, kind of filled up with potion. Which path do you want to head down? You said you were wanting to go check out Thralt's path.
Yeah, that's when I thought they might sell healing potions. So I'm going to try to meet up with
The others.
Benson, Rookline, yeah, the others, basically.
Okay. To the smithing circle. But yeah, the craftsman outside regarding pitchforks. It seems like, for mechanical purposes, I'll just explain what he's offering you here. He's willing to create a +1 pitchfork for 400 gold, but his attendants will do it. And it doesn't sound like he's going to let that go south and be a problem. It just sounds like it might take a little longer than what he would be able to do. He said it'd probably take them about 2 or 3 days to make that and make it magical. And then he says he'll charge you 800 for one of his enchantments, but it would take about a day. And he could probably have it finished in no time.
Would his enchantment be more potent?
So he explains, yes, I always leave something a little extra on there, especially for outsider folk like you.
I talk to him and I do the whole, hey, trade knowledge, blah, blah, we did.
Yeah.
But then I say that I could offer a few spells to hopefully make it an equal trade, as possibly
What do you got?
detect magic, mage armor.
I already know that one.
And shield.
Mage armor is good. Magic missile I would like, and shield I already have. So there's 2 that he doesn't have that he'd like, and he says I'd be willing to knock 100 gold off for each of those.
What about Misty Step as well?
Ooh. You come with the knowledge of the elven grace. All 3 of those spells. All 3 of those spells and 400 gold will do it.
What about 200?
Make a persuasion check.
Oh, I can't help him.
No.
I have awful charisma.
7.
It's gonna have to be 400.
You got yourself a deal.
All right. I'll get started right away. And you see him walk over to an ingot of iron, just kind of grab a hold of it, and walk over to one of the massive hammers that's just slamming against nothing. And he just throws the piece of metal onto the table. My cat. I went like, and he was sleeping and he freaked the fuck.
Okay.
I'm sorry. But yeah, he starts to work on that. He's making you a brand new pitchfork,
Nice.
which will function as a trident, just 4 pronged instead of 3. Yeah.
No, that was a spear. I don't know if I can work with a trident.
Oh, double check real quick. If you can't, then we'll make it a spear still mechanically. I thought tridents were basically the same.
No, I think Trident is
Tridents are
a
martial.
martial weapon. Yeah.
Weird. All right, yeah, it's going to be spear-like then.
I think that's how we initially tooled it.
Is it a monk weapon though?
No.
Let me check. Monk. Just real quick checking.
Simple weapons and short swords.
Huh. There was more to them. All right. Cool. Spear it is. More than fair. All right. Anything?
Is it still 400? Because like half of it's gone now.
Yeah, it's still
I
400.
think the cost is just the magic.
Yeah, it's mostly just the magic.
If you want to knock off 5 gold for being
I don't.
I know you don't.
It's a lot less iron. I'm just saying.
Fair enough. That said, is there anything else that needs to be handled in the smithing circle?
Can I assume I can exchange some coins for fewer coins?
Yeah,
Since we're in a marketplace, would that
Yeah.
be acceptable?
perfectly fine.
Get rid of some of this weight.
I have a mundane dagger and a magic item that also need fixed somewhere in the circle.
Yeah, it's not
Take
going to
it
be
down
hard.
to ash braid or whatever.
So if you're repairing something, it costs half the cost of the weapon if it is in the fine state to repair it. If it's below the fine condition, it requires 75% of the cost of the weapon to repair it. And if it's in the very last stage of its gradient, like if it's like on the verge of breaking, it costs 125% of the cost to repair it. It's cheaper to buy a new one in some cases, but if it is something like if you were breaking Zadok, it would be more costly to get it back to state, unless they're doing it for free.
And I'm going to donate 3 silvers and 7 coppers for their teachings.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, students.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, it doesn't seem like he's letting them do the process because he's performing a bit more on it.
Oh yeah, but they need to buy materials and practice eventually.
Yeah.
I feel bad.
So
Good job out of their hands.
he does crack it out in a day, no problem. And eventually Grok wanders in, sees you all, and kind of walks over to you. But if you aren't doing anything else in the town throughout the day, what you'll note is that the weapon, once finally crafted, and I'll get a card for it eventually, but while you're wielding it, is a +1 weapon. Its throwing distance is just 60 as its base instead of 20, and then its maximum range is, I can't remember what the other baseline is. It's the same as a javelin, throwing wise, so it's lighter and more throwable. And then while you're wielding it, it lets you cast the spell Thaumaturgy. And that's it.
That's pretty cool.
Okay. Alright, that sounds fun. Alright. I had to Google the spell.
You're like, what does Thaumaturgy do? But yeah, so long as you're wielding it, it is
The
not.
first one is my voice booms up to 3 times.
It is not attuning. It doesn't require attunement though. It's just a +1 weapon that can be thrown super far compared to a regular spear, and then because spears are 20/60 for throw, right?
I'm still calling it. I don't have it recorded here. I can try
Well,
to find it.
yeah, whatever the spear is, it should be more in line with what a javelin's throwing distance is. I think is longer.
Okay.
If not, we'll work together to figure that out. But yeah, it should be much more. Yeah, it should be. We'll go.
Spear is 2060.
So javelin range is 30/120. It's new range.
Okay.
And then you can cast Thaumaturgy while you're wielding it, and that's anybody who happens to have the spear.
And it counts as a monk weapon?
It's a spear.
It's simple? Yes.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Okay, and then yeah, your process is going to take a while, Jeremy. So that's just on hold.
Oh yeah, I
there.
live here now.
Yeah, for 6 days.
You're just helping scream at the fire.
But yeah, Benson.
Can I jump in? Is that allowed?
If you want,
Harmonize.
are you watching this fellow make the weapon?
You talking to me?
Benson.
Okay.
No, absolutely. I'd be hanging around with him.
Make an Arcana check.
19.
You don't know about the side bits, and you're not so sure about the forging bits. But the enchanting portion, as you watch it, you kind of go, I could probably do that if I had the materials. And it seems like he's using a kind of strange powder known as residuum. And he's definitely using a lot less than you think would be necessary, but it seems like he's doing it right. You're like, if I were to do it, it'd probably overspill, do too much. But you think that you might be able to craft the baseline enhancement, the +1 bonus. It would take you a longer amount of time, probably 7 days or so. But you think you've got the fundamentals just in watching him here. You might be able to take an already forged weapon and slap some magic in it.
I would definitely want to write that down and make
Yep.
sure I remember that.
I'm assuming you're sitting there right with the students and asking questions of them, and they're like, blah, 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 blah. And you're like, blah, 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 blah is what Shambles would be here.
Do they have residuum in the city?
They do sell residuum in the smithing circle, yeah.
Ooh.
I would like to look into buying some of that.
So yeah, you buy a gold amount of residuum, and you would know that for you to craft a +1 enhancement bonus weapon, which again would take you about 7 days to do if you had the tools, it would be about 500 gold pieces for you to do that.
500, jeez. Okay.
Yeah, it's a bit pricey. You're not good at it. The better you get, the better. This guy's doing it with 200 and making a profit here.
Right.
So yeah, the better you get at it, the better it'll be. But yeah.
I got cash. Benson.
Yeah. That said, if at some point during the day someone goes in and checks in on Roderick at the temple, the cathedral, I mentioned the size of the Engum temple and it being 100 feet tall, 1,000 feet long, and 1,000 feet wide. The Dwarven Cathedral seems to be of a similar grandiose scale, except that instead of being kind of gray stone all about with like heavy lighting, kind of filling out the area, this place appears to be a bit more somber and like not as brightly lit. But it seems that everything, wall-wise, everything is covered with gold. There are hundreds of priests wandering about, all doing their due diligence, and it's not too long before you can see that Roderick, Sophia, and the pair of knights are kind of sitting talking to a priest at a table. And if you check in on them, they're saying, we found a decent enough safe haven here at the cathedral. It would appear that Master Galagos' father is pretty well known amongst the priests here. A lot of his trade in the starting process of the Iron Path has been started here. So out of character, if you feel comfortable leaving them with the dwarven priests, Sophia and the twins, rather, the two knights, this seems like it would be suitable.
I thought we had already abandoned the child.
Didn't mean to do that.
It's fine.
Trying to reorganize my equipment.
But yeah.
Oh well.
Anybody, regrouping wise, it sounds like
I did promise I would return to them, so
yeah, I assume it was you.
if they're done with my spear, or even if they're not, I'll get back.
It looked like Benson was going to be watching that process anyways, so you were probably
Yeah,
like,
that's fine.
all right, well, this is boring. Bye. And then you checked in on the kid. And that sounds like what it's going at. Roderick confides in you, though, as you're kind of slipping away, kind of steps aside with you, and he says, are you heading after Calareth?
Someday soon, yes. Somebody needs to put him down. I can't promise when that is.
He nods his head. I didn't know if I wanted to give this to Grok. I don't know him very well, but I assume that Oru trusts him. The dragon trusts my father as well. I know my father's nature is not exactly well received by many, but he's a well-intentioned man.
No comment.
He kind of looks at you and he says, here. And he hands you a green scale.
Okay, I'll take it. Like A dragon, like a scale?
A very
Okay.
small dragon scale, yeah.
Okay.
Looks like it's not like a full scale of like a dragon. It looks like it's just kind of the broken off chip of it. And he says, if things become truly dire and you have no recourse, break it in half. I don't know what it does, but Oru said if I had no means of protecting myself, to use it. When I was abducted by the maidens, I thought about it. But they didn't seem to mean me immediate harm in their abduction, and when I learned of their true path, I didn't do it. Whatever it is, I'm sure it's very powerful, or the dragon wouldn't have gifted it to me.
You're absolutely sure you shouldn't be holding this?
If you're going for Calareth, whatever aid it would have presented you, or presented me, would probably fare better in the hands of those who are face to face with him. If I'm going to remain here in the city of the dwarves, I don't know if the spirits of nature that serve Oru would have been too helpful here.
I'll make sure to give this to Grok. I'm sure he's very grateful to receive such a thing.
I'm sure that you'll do your best, and I'm sure that I'm well defended here for the time being. If the maidens truly make their way here, I'll make sure that Sophia and her associates don't lash out at them too quickly, and hopefully a dialogue can be formed.
As far as I know, we're here for some days yet.
You're here for at least
If
the
such a
remainder.
dialogue were to take place.
Well, you would know that you're at least here for the rest of today, because your sword. You haven't talked to Raya. He disappeared.
Yeah, you're right.
But yeah, as of right now, you're at least here for the remainder of the day.
Yeah. Well,
'Cause your sword.
we'll reconvene on this.
Okay. Well,
In
you
the
know where to find
meantime,
me.
you're still my charge.
You know where to find me. And Sophia says, "Might as well." And she looks at you again, and then kind of takes to the side with you, and takes a second, and says, "If you are who you say you are, if you really are Chris, I need you to know how much of a hero you really are. And I need you to live up to that in this new form. The only reason I was against the idea of taking Calarothon head-on was because I don't think that he would be safe in that process. And what I've seen of you so far, I'm not sure whether or not you're as capable as you were before."
I couldn't tell you.
I could. And I'm hopeful that you are able to rise to the occasion here. But I don't think I want to lose you again, especially since I haven't gotten you back yet. I don't mean that to sound awkward or anything. I don't know how to describe how I'm feeling. And I don't think you would care right now in your current state, even if I did.
Damn you. Fucking got me.
Jeremy.
I'd hate to. I'd hate to put you in a position.
I bet
But
you
I can
would.
guarantee.
I was gonna say,
There it is.
Hey-o!
It's your own dialogue that you've ruined now.
I'm sorry. I just tried to stop Chody from doing it because I saw him get ready.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's it.
I got excited.
You said to Robin from
Okay,
Cody.
okay. Sorry. Go ahead, continue.
Fucking don't know what to say to that. I'm gonna do my best. For now, you have a job to do, and so do I. If I'm ever to return as I ought to be, I don't know what to say.
Are you still wearing your broken gladiator sword on your belt?
Yeah.
She reaches down and she grabs it and pulls it off of your belt. And then she slams her sword into your chest. The exact same blade, but not broken. She takes yours and she says, well, if you're heading to fight Calareth, you may never make it back. Better best armed than not. If you make it back to the capital,
I'm gonna want that sword back.
I'll make sure that it's ready for you when you do. She nods her head and heads back over to Roderick.
Okay, I got another damn weapon to add.
Yeah, why do people keep giving you weapons you don't know how to
I
use?
don't know.
So when you draw her sword, you note that it's the same length as your broken one, only a little longer. It's still just a short sword. It's just
Okay.
not broken and funky. It's also magical.
Damn it. Couldn't have talked to me before I went.
It's an easy magical. It should be an easy magical thing to apply to it. It is vicious.
Okay.
It just means it does a d12 extra when you crit. Anyway.
Sophia's so.
Anybody have anything else that they want to do in the city during the day today?
Nope.
All right. Well, if that's the case, we kind of migrate to the next day. Where are you holding up? Like, that's a better question, actually.
Is there a place where we can get lodging?
Revelry Circle. That's all it is. It's just inns and taverns and
Alright.
tap rooms and pubs and microbreweries and fucking gastropubs and all
Nice.
sorts of just. It's if the clanging clockwork nature of the smithing circle became aggravating, the straight madness of the Revelry Circle and the strange kind of just yelling, singing, body tale telling, like that's the Revelry Circle. And it's not hard to find a cup filled with ale, and they seem very receptive. The only place that seems to be barred to you if you try to enter it is the temple in the center.
Just find lodging.
Yep. Standing outside of the temple, if you do pass by it, there are a bunch of dwarven defenders, massive tower shields, big axes in the other hand, just standing out there, and they seem to only let pass dwarves who walk past them. You see a couple of other human merchants kind of enter in and they block them, turn them away. But everywhere else you seem to be allowed access. And by this time you would have seen, this is more for Ben's, or for Shambles than anybody else, you would have seen patrols of people who look just like you right now walking around. You would have probably also have seen the other...
You know what? I'll fall in line. Oh.
You probably would have also...
I'll do a route.
You probably would have also seen the other variant of these, the Juggernaut, which appears to be just a mass of kind of like core metal in its center. It's kind of like a head attached to its circle, like almost barrel-like center, and then like big arms that almost drag on the ground as it's walking, massive metal knuckles, and big like Mega Man feet. It's probably about as big and wide as Grok, but
Gotta get you one of those.
all metal. Just trundling along. It's not quiet.
Yeah, I'll try to blend in with one of the skirmisher routes. Just sort of walk around the city, see what I see.
Yeah, if you do kind of get too close to them, you do see that they kind of stop you and go, "Citizen, halt. Where are you headed? Do you need assistance?"
No.
They don't seem to recognize that you're...
I'll just kick at the gravel and walk away.
They don't seem to recognize that you're the same as them. They see you as different, and you see that other people are like, "The hell's that? What's going on over there? That's weird." Well, how'd they?
Or a rogue robot.
Rogue robot. Or a thief robot if you're talking to Grok. Jeez.
Murder robot.
But yeah, if you're just walking around with them, then fair enough. It costs 2 silver a piece per room. They do not have common rooms. It is literally just individual rooms per. And it seems like the room cycle that you're built into. It's room, and outside of it is a landing with a staircase that goes up and down, and then downstairs more to get to other rooms. And it seems like they kind of set you up down inside of one of these room columns, basically one on top of the other.
I'll drop a gold, pay for all of them.
Okay. And then yeah, if you're
Thank you, Shambles.
if you're
I'm gonna hang out in here as long as my guys are working. So until they kick me out, I'm just gonna hang out with them.
okay, yeah, they would kick you out right around like lunch or dinner time and say we're done for the day. The attendant would say they're done for the day.
Okay, then yeah, I'll just go find everybody else.
Yep. And they seem to be heading in the same direction that you eventually find that your friends went to, and they march right into the temple. You pray to Angum in the day, you pray to Throlk in the evening, you fall asleep at night. The matter of a priest of the Smiths. But yeah, you eventually all find each other and are sitting at a table inside of this dwarvish tap room and inn. And I'm assuming are basically explaining to each other what the plan is, right?
Yeah, the sword. Did I get Shambles' dagger back from them
Yeah.
while I was there? Okay. I'll give him back his dagger. I'm like, the sword's gonna take another day to be repaired.
Okay, looks like we can afford to wait here a little while.
I'm gonna be here for a week.
Okay, looks like we can afford to be here for a little while longer.
Grox is a little nervous about that because we have to get Calorith. That's kind of our deal.
I'm sure he'll wait for us.
What's important is we have both of his goals secured, and we have an idea of where they are while he does not.
That's very true. Well, he might not.
Fair.
As you're kind of sitting there, you see that there are quite a few dwarves here. That group of humans that got turned away are also in this tap room. The door opens and in walks a very familiar face to the lot of you, the blonde woman from the crossing.
Oh god.
The maiden.
Mm-hmm. She walks straight up to the bar. She doesn't seem to notice you're there.
Huh. That's new for us.
That's just when we go a place that someone doesn't notice us.
Right?
Brock
There's
puts
a
his hood
robot,
up.
an 8-foot turtle.
I put my hood up.
You see her kind of sit there for a second, and she tosses a couple of coin onto the table, says something in Dwarvish, but she's a distance away. You can't really hear what she's saying. Then you can see that from one of those stairwells that kind of come up from the columns that I mentioned that go down to the rooms, the blue-haired woman comes up, kind of enters into the common room. She does see you. She looks over and she walks over to you, just calmly, kind of stands at the table, places her hand on it, and says, "Well, hello. Where is he?
Hi.
He's well.
Where is he?"
He's not with us.
No, I understand.
I haven't seen him since we entered town.
Yeah, me either.
I don't like asking the same question more than once, and I don't want to make a scene.
We don't want you to either.
Fair enough. Fair enough. That's perfectly acceptable. You see her halo kind of glow, and then she kind of looks over at the other woman, who kind of looks back over her shoulder, now recognizing that you're there, and then she looks back to you all and says, "Just tell me where he is. It's very
I
important."
literally haven't seen him since he came into town. Like,
We
I don't know what
parted ways when we
we
got
parted
to
ways
town.
as soon as we walked into town.
Looks over to Benson. You're a protector of this region, are you not?
One of many.
Then you would know that great dangers befall this boy if he is found out.
I do, and we are both.
His father is prominent in this town, not his true father, as I'm sure you're already aware. That his bloodline is not as it's been made out to be. That said, if his father's ties are being used to protect him, he will be found out. So I ask you one more time, looking to you all, where is he? Is he with the woman with one eye?
Yes.
She will undoubtedly cause him to be revealed. She sits. Is there an open chair at the table, or have you all basically secured a chair and there's no space to sit?
I don't know.
No,
How
I
many
would
chairs
let her
fit around a
sit.
table?
Well, no, there's 5 of you. Would there have been 5 chairs and a 6th one, or is it just like?
How many chairs are at a table? It's your
It's a
world.
bench.
sorry.
It's a bench. You can come sit with
I
me.
would say there'd probably be 4.
And we
I'll
probably pulled
I'll
one
nab an
over.
extra chair for her.
Okay. She sits down, and she looks at you. I didn't have the opportunity to introduce myself to you. We definitely got into a bit of a spat very early on in our first meeting. For that, I apologize. We were being pincered on a bridge. We were forced to make dire choices. Unfortunately, a little bit more of the nature of this ritual has been revealed to us because of her pompousness, the one looking at the hand you sent away.
It seemed like the best thing to do at the time.
You're
She
welcome.
was going to hurt her friend.
It does sound like her saying that was kind of like, putting it on the table and pointing out it was beneficial.
Brock would say, as a servant of Uru, our job is to protect him and rid the world of Calarith. If you share the same goal, you could join us.
If your job was to protect him, you'd be with him. You wouldn't let him stir from you. You are a servant of Uru. You are not a servant of my master. My master's goals in this are much more strict. I serve the light, the even-handed judge. I serve Atavius. Protecting the boy is penultimate to me. To you it may seem like a flippant goal that's been placed onto your table, but to me there's nothing more important. If the boy dies, then his real father will be the last of his line. Because his wife is barren. And when he secreted away with his
concubine.
Unfortunately, though,
Couldn't he have concubines if his wife is barren?
it is not allowed by the rules of the Bynod. And the utilization of that word, though it be a bit scandalous, is probably closer to the truth. I do not feel insulted by the matter, more the circumstance.
What are your intentions with the boy?
Return him to the king in Liberus after spending some time here, down Angdanuk's path, staying with an associate of ours, a fellow member of the Protectorate. And she gestures towards her halo.
Well, thanks to your actions on the bridge and your actions in Bellum, was it? Where they stole him away?
We stole him away, yeah.
The good lady with one eye now certainly knows who he is and the consequences of his death.
Knowledge of his bloodline is not a matter that we concern ourselves with. The truth should not be hidden away. That was not our goal when we obscured...
I disagree strongly. If you're trying to protect this person, you need him to be an absolute secret. Everything about him.
We were instructed to abscond with him away from the monastery by the priest who was holding him there for that time, his mentor. When Lord Galagos, or rather Gaius, was taken by us, he was unwilling, and he did not know his own lineage until we told him of it. Are you saying that we should not have told him?
That probably would have been the best.
That he would have died not knowing his true goals, his true destiny. He would have died at the hands of those who sought him on the bridge.
How does him not knowing equal him dying?
Because if he does not know, he cannot take the steps necessary to protect himself. He is more guarded now than he was before we met him. Looks to the servant of Oru. Looks dead on in your eyes. Piercing, violet eyes just walking with you. And your master would be another sacrifice, along with the boy prince. And together they would cause a very dire circumstance for this place. Do you not agree?
Of course, I'm concerned much less with the bloodline than with preventing the return of Ashmedea. You should know that.
They are not two different goals.
How so?
If he reigns in Liberus, where he belongs, at his father's side, if he is brought to light in a courtly manner and taken there safely, he will be protected by the pelagic arbiters and the arbiters' guard, the old guard. The king's defenses will be his. Walking across Osiria is not an easy matter, as I'm sure you're well aware. We were being chased by goodly folk for our deed. Misinterpretations can come from not telling the truth of the matter. But I understand where you are coming from, she says to Shambles. I suppose not telling him would have been fair, so long as no one else knew. The problem is the knowledge is not his alone. The knowledge is not ours alone. The knowledge is not Oru's alone. Calarith holds this knowledge. Sigis holds this knowledge.
And once you secret the boy away, what do you intend to do after that?
We will take him down Angdanuk's path to our associate, fellow member of the Protectorate. We will remain here until such time as a spell is made ready to teleport him a great distance through the astral plane. We will then sail through the seas of heaven until such time as we can drop down into the Isle of Liberus. And then we will make our way up the pelagic steps, beyond the arbiters, to the king's throne. But if he
I don't understand. How does the king's throne stop this plan?
It does not stop it, but the servants of the king are much more prepared to defend than you or I. They do it every day, every hour, and every second.
No, one of the servants of the king isn't a traitor.
I highly doubt it, but I suppose that would be something.
I think it's possible.
I suppose that would be something for the king to determine.
Your holy mission's only to protect the one bloodline.
Protect this boy specifically.
So what about the other bloodlines that can bring about Ashmedea?
We are not the servants of that specific throne.
So you're not actually here to stop Ashmedea. You're just here to protect a boy.
Correct. But we are aware of his goals. We understand his desires for the child, which is why we were forced to act.
So if you do protect this boy, but one of the others is taken, and Ashmedea is risen, and then the world falls, have you protected the boy?
She turns and she looks to Oru, or Grok. If Oru falls in this process, and you did not defend him, or defend her, have you failed?
Yes. And Oro has instructed me.
So why are you here, Elf? Why are you not protecting Oru?
I don't serve Oru.
Who do you serve? Questions and guilement?
Myself.
Confusion? Deceit? It sounds like you serve nothing. You ask questions that hold no merit in this matter. Moving forward, I would suggest you hold your tongue before asking such foolish questions. She turns back to Grok.
Oro has tasked me to.
So you understand that
Calarith.
So you understand that your master is taking steps that are not what is all-encompassing. You cannot protect every servant of, or every bloodline, correct?
That's right.
Nor can we. We have only been tasked with one objective. Roderick Galagos to be returned to the citrine throne. That is our goal. If you do not trust us in this effort, fine. But I assure you, if the boy's lineage to Eric Galagos is made known in this city, it will be spread far and wide. The merchant councilman is well known here, and many will come to his son to bring him gifts, to bring him aid. Looks back to Shambles. If keeping him a secret is your goal, then please tell me you have not made it known that he is present.
No,
Well,
to my
the only body
knowledge,
at this
he's
table
been
that said
brought
his
in.
name out loud is you.
Where is he?
I'll take you there.
Thank you. She looks over, and you can see like she's kind of thinking, but it looks like she's thinking heavily, and you can see her halo kind of glowing strangely. If you look over at the bar, the woman at the bar, her halo starts
They're
kind of.
conversing.
It looks like they are telepathically communicating. You see the woman at the bar kind of stand up, nod, and make her way towards the door. The blue-haired woman looks to you.
Can I trust you not to start anything untoward?
We are reactionary.
You and I got off on the wrong foot.
I am well aware.
You got off on an entirely different foot with the one-eyed woman.
We are reactionary. We only act in response. So I apologize for our efforts on the bridge against you, if we had taken any. You came
My
to...
concern, no. My concern is with the one-eyed woman, who has pledged her service to the young.
We will not make any moves towards her unless she attacks us first, just as it was on the bridge.
Can she accompany you?
I'm walking her there.
Yeah.
No, Ken. I'm asking the Halo lady whether the Patch lady can accompany her with Roderick back to, Liberus.
Traveling through the astral sea is not an easy process. It would definitely be something I would have to bring forward as a matter towards our associate protectorate. I don't think it's impossible. Perhaps.
That might be the only way to satisfy all parties.
Right. Grok is going to stand up and go with Shambles because he's responsible too for this.
Okay.
You see Isoletta at the bar. She places down like a handful of gold coins, and you see her say something in Dwarvish to the dwarf. He goes, and those two wander off. Eventually, the bartender comes over to your table and says, the remainder, those who stayed, and says, he kind of hands you some silver pieces and stuff. Your rooms and everything that you would want food-wise or drink-wise has been paid for by the holy
Taking
knight.
my gold coin back.
And then just wanders away. As you're walking towards the temple, Isoletta kind of looks at Grok. It's been a while since I've seen a turtle. I remember a tale of one riding upon the Zarutan off in the Dragon Isles. A noble shaman and servant of law and balance. And what of you? A sentinel of Oru?
That's right.
What is most important to you in this world?
To serve Uru and prevent the return of Ashmedea. That's my goal.
A noble one indeed. She seems to become disinterested, and you can see that...
Boring.
well, no,
A couple of dicks, these two.
you can see that she becomes disinterested, and you can see it's because she's distracted. She becomes distracted. She seems to be looking kind of down the road a bit as you're kind of wandering along, and you see her kind of like her eyes become a bit thinner and kind of glaring in that direction, and as she's doing that, you see her kind of step back. The halos kind of glow for a second, and she places her hand on your shoulder, Shambles. Isoletta does. And the other woman places her hand on your shoulder, Grok. And
Not me.
you're not with them, are you?
Yeah, I am.
You
Yeah,
win?
he did
Yeah,
say he
yeah,
was
he
coming.
He did.
I didn't.
God damn it.
I missed that part. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So what's your coup? What you doing?
No, it's not a coup. So yeah, then we're gonna have to start from a different perspective. So you see her eyes needle. Go ahead, and all three of you make perception checks.
I have a 19 passive perception.
Yep. Go ahead and make a check.
24.
Fudge.
19 wouldn't have helped. 24 is good. You're the only one who seems to notice. Isoletta seems to be narrowing her eyes. They will not step back and try and teleport with you guys because, again, we have a Brooklyn.
Brooklyn! Damn it!
Her eyes kind of like thin down, and she seems to be looking in that direction. Her halo kind of goes wild for a second, as does the other maidens. And the blue-haired maiden in the lot, like amidst you, kind of standing between you all, says, "Ready your arms." And as she says that, you can see stepping from another alleyway, and kind of behind you, a bunch of fellows with crimson scarves around their necks. And that's where we'll end the session for today.
Okay.
Thanks for watching. And we'll pick up next week. Nope. I think next
We
week.
got a week off after this one, right?
Yeah, so next week, those who are interested, if we do have viewers, we'll be running a one-shot for my Patreons. It will take place in this specific campaign set, this portion of the campaign setting, and this specific time zone, and it'll happen with Gondar's return in the defense of Mudis. And yeah, we'll pick up from there. Thanks for watching. Bye.